Today's episode is brought to you by Domain.com.
Let me know when you're ready, Ryan.
Awesome.
I'm good. Cover! Down a little more, Josh. And action.
Welcome to the first episode of Film Riot's Epic Summer. This is going to be 3 months of behind the scenes. Each month we're going to release a new short film and then follow that with tons of behind the scenes and how-tos, including films from Seth, Worley, and Andrew Kramer. This month we're kicking it off with my latest short film, U.F.Oh Yeah, so if you have not seen that, go here to watch it before you continue watching this because I'm about to spoil everything. With this short film, I knew I wanted to go with something that was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the comedy. And to write that, as always, I packed out an Evernote notebook with tons of reference images and made myself a playlist of music that would remind me of the tone and style I wanted. My goal behind this project was to create something that felt fantastic but was doable in a short amount of time and with very little money. So I thought, let's go with one location that has a lot of character and a big sci-fi element. Oh my god! Once I had that, the rest just fell into place, including Fat Josh. We knew we wanted to do a full fat suit and makeup, and with the makeup, there's really no getting around it. That's going to eat into the budget, so we tried to find ways to trim back on the suit. I ended up finding this crappy fat suit on Amazon for 55 bucks. The first time we had Josh try it on, it just looked like just ridiculously bad, but that's okay because we can modify. We grabbed some pillow stuffing and filled in the areas that we needed until we got that final look we wanted. Then it was a matter of getting the right wardrobe and Josh figuring out his walk. The next up was to get the face cast. I met our makeup artist, Heather Henry, through a mutual friend. She's local to Dallas and completely amazing, which is a big reason of why you need to connect with your local film community. The only reason we were able to get in touch with Heather is because of someone else that we've worked with. But we met Heather at Brick in the Yard Studio in Richardson. They started the process off by throwing a bald cap on Josh's head to protect his hair. Then they lathered him up with alginate until he looked like the creature from Silent Hill. Then they covered him in some plaster bandages until he looked like Ronan the Accuser. And then finally, covered him completely so he looked like the man in the Iron Mask. This was left to dry for a short time, and then they finally released Josh from his face coffin, and they had the mold to create Josh's head.
Whoa, that was weird.
After that, she did the exact same thing to his hands, and Heather's going to be using the cast that she makes out of these to create all the prosthetics that she's going to be using on Josh later to turn him into Ned. So we have our fat suit and face cast. Next up is location.
We found this location through a process of, elimination, if you will. Ryan, of course, is a giant pain in my butt.
There you go. Sorry, Ryan.
He likes to do things the hard way, as usual. So we actually found several different locations originally that looked really good based on what we needed for our character. We needed a middle of nowhere sort of feel, very remote, destination. So while we were looking for locations, we had several locations actually turn us down because previous productions had come in and had left the property in disrepair. So that's actually a good lesson for when you do get a chance to work with a location and someone allows you to utilize their property, to leave it, better than the way you found it.
Up to this point, it had been everything that could go wrong was going wrong as always, and our production days were no different. Gear we bought for the shoot was showing up damaged.
We ordered a fan. We ordered 2 fans. Both fans came damaged. Horribly, mangly damaged.
People were getting lost on the way to the location because it was in the middle of nowhere.
Needed to start about 30 minutes ago, but this place is incredibly hard to find.
Okay, so you're gonna go down about a half a mile.
So we had to send somebody to find our makeup artist.
And our lift showed up without gas.
I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
And the list goes on as it always does. Our main goal on setup day was to get the location built out how we wanted, which again, since this was low budget, we're trying to utilize as much as we can of the actual location as possible. And we lucked out, this place was great. We moved some couches out, moved in a long table that they had on the porch, built out Ned's conspiracy board and got that hung up, decked out the table with all the clippings and the books, built out and decorated the shelves, and figured out the electrical for the location.
I am mapping the electrical circuits so that we know how many circuits we have, where they are.
Off. On.
For lighting purposes, we have to know how much power we get.
Then once the very talented Ryan Booth got there, who was my cinematographer on the film, we started roughing in the look of the piece and our first shot. I sent Ryan a ton of images as reference of the look and feel that I wanted, but this was the first time he had seen the location, so it took some time to find exactly what we wanted to do.
And this is going to be daylight, right? We're going to have daylight glow. So in a lot of ways, I feel like we want to edge with tungsten, and then just like, basically we might want to put a forebank up over top just to kind of like motivate the computer screen.
What I love about the lighting that we landed on for the first shot was how DIY it ended up being. At first Ryan was testing motivating some light from the computer using a Kino and an LED panel, both expensive pro lights, but what we landed on using was an Energizer lantern, $20 light from Walmart with diffusion wrapped around it. For the fill light for the room, he flipped on the ceiling fan light that was already there and then threw some diffusion over that. And finally, we backlit Josh using my DIY light bar. And it looks great, which just goes to show how much you can get with very little. But now let's pay some bills, and then we jump into the first day of shooting. Domain.com is a place to go if you're an innovator or inventor of any kind. You should be thinking of Domain.com. They have 200 plus domain extensions that you can pick from to help boost your brand. Extensions like .expert, .club, .cc, .nyc, and we could save you money by using the coupon code FilmRiot at checkout. You get 20% off your domain names, web hosting, and email. So when you think domain names, think Domain.com. Because of unforeseen and uncontrollable reasons, day one got off to a very late shooting start, including more crew members getting lost on the way to the location. This place was just impossible to find. But once our makeup artist arrived, we immediately threw Josh into the makeup chair, getting his custom prosthetics put on, which he could not move his face for most of.
It's cold in here.
It is.
How long till I can speak again?
Let that dry. So like 3 minutes?
Okay, no rush.
And while Josh was in the makeup chair, Booth and I jumped right to grabbing all the shots that we could that didn't have Josh in them. Inserts of the conspiracy board, which I used later for the end titles, the push-in on the TV, and a few others.
Look at that. All right. Yes, that's how you dim. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you dim that light. Oh, I like the way you dim that light.
Then we set up our first shot.
Yeah, so we're here.
He grabs this. Oh, okay.
Just keep going.
And then keep rotating.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then we land probably right here.
Okay. Interesting. That's like
these conversations.
a little complicated.
It's gonna get worse.
This shot was designed to bring us into that character's world, cluing us into who he is, and finally landing on him and continuing the shot for the rest of his dialogue. It's about a minute or so oneer, so we had to get the timing and move just right. To get the move we wanted, I used Kessler's shuttle pod, which is just a giant, infinitely expandable slider. It's a lot more mobile and versatile than traditional dollies, so it worked perfectly for us here. Especially since we came from shooting the TV shot to this, instead of having to break it all down, we could just lift it over the table and be ready to go again. And with shooting in such a small area, this was incredibly helpful. We were also shooting on the new Canon C100 Mark II, going into an Atomos Ninja Blade. For lensing, we were using the Canon Cinema Zoom, which we had thanks to the lovely people at Lens Pro to Go. We used that lens for a good 80% of the short, and I love it. Finally, Josh was out of makeup, looking absolutely amazing thanks to Heather Henry, and we were ready to roll on our first take.
camera is feeding.
Settle. Ready, Josh? And action, Ryan. Josh.
And the recurring reports of strange lights amongst other odd happenings leads the seeker of truth to believe that I had chosen the right place. I've even been able to find spectral-like trails throughout the surrounding woods. Remnants of otherworldly visits, which correspond perfectly with the local reports of abductions in this very area, have validated my educated selection of this specific cabin. All that's left now is observation and patience, which this skilled purveyor of the unknown has in spades. But that brings us to the end of another successful episode of U.F.Oh Yeah. Until next time, remember, keep one eye on the sky.
Now for recording audio, since again we are a smaller crew trying to stretch the budget as much as possible, we're going straight into camera instead of recording external sound with the sound recordings. I'm comfortable doing this for two reasons. One, the in-camera audio for the Canon cinema cameras is just great. And two, I'm using my Rode NTG3 shotgun mic. So with that combo and the mic always in the right place, I know that we're getting really solid production audio. I also left the Rode blimp on the mic the entire shoot, even indoors, just in case. But after a few takes there, we moved on again, and now the thing about this night was we were supposed to start shooting with Josh around 6 or 7 p.m. But thanks to issues that were beyond our control and not anyone's fault, we didn't actually start shooting with Josh till after 1 a.m., which left us with less than half the time I scheduled to get all our shots. So to make our night, I had to quickly go through my shot list and start cutting shots left and right. My goal in that moment was to trim everything back to the bare minimum so we could tell our story. One thing that really helped us was Ryan Booth's suggestion of combining shots. So if we could take a shot and link it with another, like the move to the door and his close-ups, we would. So we were able to knock out double the coverage we would have otherwise. But the other most important shot of the night, other than that opening shot, was this guy. This was our big close encounters shot, and for me, this was more important than the first time we actually see the ship. It's that sense of the unknown. We know something's out there and we're pretty sure what it is, but there's still that unknown there that gives us that sort of mysterious beat we needed. No way. When we shot this, we didn't have the Ronin yet, so I'm using the M10, which we got thanks to the lovely folks over at Lens Pro to Go. The original Mobi that we were going to use fell through in the last second, and they were awesome enough to overnight it to us, so we had it for the shoot. Now the idea here is that Ned is drawn to the front door by what he hears outside, and then we all of a sudden get that sudden burst of light. To do this, Booth set up an HMI Joker on one side of the window, and then 3 LOL 1Ks on the other side with CTB. Then we had guys with flags outside to cover and uncover the lights on cue to get that sudden burst of light. We got these light streaks pouring through the window by filling the room with haze, not fog. We used the DF50 hazer to do that, which is built for this sort of thing and much safer for your crew and gear when working in a tight space like this. The haze is also how we got that diffused Spielberg vibe with all the cabin shots as well. But with that haze floating nicely in the air, plus the light getting broken up by the blinds, we're getting those really nice streaks and blooms. So in this one shot, we have Josh stand, react to everything that's happening on the other side of the room, then we track with him for the light reveal, then Booth nails this move all the way to the door as Josh grabs the handle, which we did without a focus puller. We just used the autofocus on the C100 Mark II, framed smart, and it worked perfectly. Then we ran the same shot once more, this time tighter, and we covered what was supposed to be 5 setups in just 2 shots. The first night was all about not stressing out too much over the issues that were being thrown at us and being ready and willing to rethink the plan and reorganize to come up with the bare minimum coverage that will help us tell the story of that scene. Of course, it didn't hurt that I was working with Ryan Booth. He is an incredibly talented filmmaker, so collaborating with somebody like that is really invaluable to your project. But that's it for day 1 of shooting, and we're gonna pause there. Next week, we're gonna jump into our second day of shooting, this time outside in the cold and with a whole host of other challenges. But if you want to connect to the filmmakers involved, check out the notes section below. There's also links for our company collaborators and the gear we use for this shoot as well. Also, if you're interested or you just want to show your support, check out the store page right here. We've released a U.F.Oh Yeah pack. Inside there, you get a much higher quality version of the film, a pre versus post VFX comparison, the shooting script, and the on-set experience, some other goodies as well. So check that out right there, and I'll see you guys next week.